Ever looked at a full renovation quote and thought, I could probably do most of that myself? Well, you probably can, and I have. I've gutted entire houses, built and knocked through walls, fitted kitchens and bathrooms, and even rented a digger to trench out a new waste pipe. If there's a way to save money and learn something new on a property project, I've probably tried it. In this video, I'll tell you how you can renovate your own investment property, what's typically doable by yourself, what's better left to the pros, and how to learn and save money along the way. Plus, I'll walk you through the free tool that I use to plan every renovation of mine. It even lets you furnish the space and walk around it in 3D. Let's jump right in. So if you've never done DIY before, the best starting point is actually YouTube. Tons of videos from respectable tradespeople teaching proper techniques. It's how I've learned half the stuff that I now do on my own projects. That being said, don't be afraid to bring in the professionals, especially at the beginning. I actually see that as part of the learning costs. Some of the tradespeople I've hired are now good mates of mine. But here's something I've found time and time again. When trades see you getting stuck into the work, they're usually happy to give advice as well. On one project I was working on, I was knocking through a wall while a team outside were building a retaining wall for me. They popped in for a cup of tea, helped me figure out a question I had about the lintel, and even lent me their demolition hammer to make it easier after they saw me struggling with my own little SDS drill in comparison. It's taken me hours and they said I could just do it in a few minutes with their tool instead. So hiring trades, you benefit not only from experienced tradespeople doing the work, but you learn from them as well, and they can give you advice on other things that you've got going on. So when it comes to house renovations, what typically can you do and not do by yourself? There are definitely some things that I leave to the professionals, like gas work. It's not worth the risk and you need it signed off anyway, so get a professional in. Electrics, anything more than a like-for-like plug socket change in your own home, it needs to be inspected and signed off, so again, get a professional in. Structural work like load-bearing walls, I don't touch that, and I make sure I hire someone who's got a good reputation and insured in case the house falls down. But then you've got other stuff like plastering. This is finishing work, and I can do small patches, but for full rooms, it's worth getting a proper finish, otherwise it looks super rough. So unless you're talented, and I'll be supremely jealous if you are, get a professional in, because that finishing technique looks so much better. But beyond that, you can usually take on a lot of the bits yourself with a bit of care and learning. So that's all the rip outs and the prep work, basic plumbing like taps and toilets. You can hang doors, you can fit kitchens, you can lay LVT or laminate flooring. All of this stuff you shouldn't fear, because you can find so much resource online on how to do it properly. The key is to take your time, be methodical, and know when to call the professionals for help. Because honestly, most mistakes that you make won't be permanent, they're usually fixable, so just get stuck in and give it a go. Now, before I actually start any renovation work, I typically map a clear layout. I use floorplanner.com, which is completely free and really easy to use, and I create what I call the after floor plan. It's the layout that I'm aiming for, and it helps me figure out what's changing, doorways, drainage, plug sockets, lighting, and any cables or pipes that need to go behind the plaster. It's great for showing to the professional tradesmen that I get in so they can see where the cables need to be run. But speaking of which, a few weeks ago I actually forgot to run the electrical cable for a kitchen extractor through the ceiling that I was installing. I remembered genuinely 1 hour before the carpet fitters were due to start upstairs. And that would have been really expensive and very annoying to rip up a brand new carpet and run that cable. But Floor Planner, the best part about it is that it actually lets you add branded furniture like John Lewis products, and then you can walk through the space in 3D to get a feel for it. This is actually one that I've done recently. You may see more of this house in the future. So once you've got your plan in place, the next thing to consider is actually where you want to spend your money and time. It's tempting to sink hours into little design touches like Venetian blinds or really fancy plug sockets. But in most investment properties, you want to focus on changes that add real value or solve problems with that property. That's ultimately where the money is. So that might mean changing single glazing windows to double glazing or triple glazing, which also helps the EPC rating. You might want to improve the curb appeal, so fresh paint outside, a clean entrance, a tidy garden. Remember, on Rightmove or Zoopla, it's always the outside picture which is the first one. So that's your first impression. You also want to make sure that every room has a clear and usable function. So that's fixing awkward layouts. Like for one property I purchased, I had a walk-in wardrobe in the middle of the hallway upstairs between 2 bedrooms. So someone leaving one of the bedrooms might see someone from one of the other bedrooms getting changed. I fixed that by adding stud wall in between it and then adding a new doorway from the master bedroom. And so when people were looking at the floor plan, it just made way more sense. But to summarize, small visual upgrades are great. However, the biggest returns usually come from solving what's holding the property back. Before you start knocking down walls or converting lofts, take a step back and check what kind of sign-off you might need here in the UK. Planning permission and building control are two entirely separate things, and you might need one, both, or neither depending on the work. And each comes with its own costs like architects or consulting sessions or even booking inspections. If in doubt, speak to an architect or surveyor. It can save you serious headache down the line, because retrospective approval is an absolute pain. And in the worst case scenario, you might have to undo what you've already changed at your own cost, because unfortunately, you didn't have permission. So as I mentioned before, some jobs just need a professional, or you might want one for speed or peace of mind. When hiring trades, get a couple of quotes. It's worth seeing how the prices and advice compares. But don't just immediately go with the cheapest quote. Look at their reviews, past work, and how they communicate with you. And if you find someone truly great, keep them in your network. Even if they're a bit more expensive, the trust and ease of working together usually pays off across multiple jobs and provides better flexibility for you. The trades that I now use regularly, that I built up over time, I trust enough to leave a key with, so they can come and go as they please to the property that they're working on. And it allows me to work my full-time job without changes to my hours, so I don't have to meet them at the property and let them in and make sure they're doing the right thing. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with 5 final tips that I've learned from my experience in property. Number 1, don't aim for perfection. It's a rental house, not a forever home. It's going to get wear and tear over time anyway. Number 2, always allow some buffer in your budget for renovations. Surprises aren't actually that surprising when it comes to property renovation. Number 3, keep receipts and take photos. This is especially useful if you're refinancing or sorting tax later. Number 4, pre-paint skirting boards, architrave, shelving before you fit it. It saves loads of faff. And number 5, and something I definitely need to stick to better, keep the site clean. Tidy space, tidy mind, and it does save you time being able to find your tools more easily. So if you want to see how I record and track all the renovation costs on the properties that I invest in, check out my video, I'll link it over here, on how to find a property with potential. It shows you the step-by-step process that I use and the free tool that I built that helps value all the deals after factoring in your costs. And that tool's available on my website, I'll link it down below, johnnythompson.co.uk. Thanks for watching, and if you're mid-renovation yourself, good luck.